start. And then this.
And we're live.
Okay, all right. Welcome, everybody. This is Zach and Steve from Dual React Sports, and we're talking free agency, which isn't so free.
No, it costs a lot of money.
It costs a boatload of money, man. A boatload of money.
And teams definitely went out and spent these last couple days. They went all out. Some teams...
And there's Craig Kostelecki.
Hey, Craig.
So we're live. We're just talking free agency, a little bit of sports here with you. And Zach's going to start it off with a little bit of the franchise tags.
Or tags in general. There's only one other tag that I saw that wasn't a franchise tag, and that was Arizona using their transition tag on Kenyon Drake. And a kind of a background on transition tag, if you're not completely familiar with it, is that somebody can match their offer. Is that correct?
Right.
So if, say, the Bears wanted to go after Kenyon Drake, the Arizona Cardinals would post him at $10 million a year for 3 years. The Bears could match that, and if Kenyon Drake wants to go to the Bears, he could go with them. So, or if no one makes that offer, Arizona keeps him for that amount of money.
That's right.
So it's a little different than the franchise tag. Franchise tag, it's pretty much if you're going to play this next year, you're going to play for us under this amount of money.
Right.
So
and how that kind of works as well, it's a average of the highest paid players at that position.
Right.
So,
I think it's top 5 in each position.
And they average it out. And boom, you're right there.
Right. In the middle.
Middle of them. So that's a good way to explain it. That's the best way we can explain it.
Yeah, and obviously, we got a lot of people joining in now.
Hey, everybody.
And if you have any questions on how they work, obviously, put it in the comments and everything, and we can try to go through it. But I'm going to run through here real quick. There's not a long list of free agent or franchise tags or anything, but there are some big names on this list. So
there is.
I'll start with the exclusive franchise tag that was placed on Dak Prescott, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. Exclusive franchise tag. This is the first I've heard of it being used on somebody. So I'm guessing exclusive means he's going to be paid at that number 1 spot for to match the highest paid quarterback in that area.
Correct, and that's someone that the Cowboys is not going to get rid of.
Right.
Let's be honest. The Cowboys have been working with him on a contract from everything that we've heard about.
Even from the beginning of last year to now. Ezekiel Elliott was signed last year, kind of threw off that signing of Dak Prescott. I mean, if you guys have all been watching football, you see that Dak Prescott's been talked about getting re-signed since the beginning of last year.
Which, I'm kind of glad you brought that up. I feel like the Ezekiel Elliott thing kind of threw a wrench into the works.
Absolutely,
as far as some of the players they wanted to retain.
I mean, they had a lot of guys that if Ezekiel Elliott would have waited his turn, they could have signed him in order and kept, I think, a lot more than what Zeke has kind of handcuffed him into now. Because last year they also had to sign Jalen Smith, their middle linebacker, and they did end up signing him to a big contract as well as Zeke. But now then you got into this conundrum this year with Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott. You're only going to be able to sign one of them
and look at
on a long-term deal.
Their corner is
Byron
gone.
Jones, and
Byron Jones,
he did move on.
And also the edge rusher, their number 2 edge rusher, who the Bears picked up today.
And Robert
Quinn.
Yeah.
So, those domino pieces, this is what happens when big money,
exactly.
And people hold out and want a new contract before their time is up. So these are things that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be going through each team, but
that's all Craig's comment.
Yeah, Zach could be shirtless by the end of this, so we just don't know.
We'll see. So we'll go down the list here. We have Matt Judon, the D lineman from Baltimore. He was franchise tagged. Good player. AJ Green, receiver for Cincinnati, was re-signed. I think that was a big part of them going and grabbing Joe Burrow with that number 1 pick. If you saw our last video with the quarterbacks.
Which I'm totally set on. I'm totally set that Cincinnati cannot actually have a miss on this guy. 60 touchdowns, people.
Yeah, and he met with him. He said he wanted AJ Green there. And why wouldn't you? He's one of the best in the league right now. So
Right.
And then moving down the list, another big name is Justin Simmons, the safety from Denver. it's always on the field, always making an impact. I think he's played 200 and close to 250 consecutive starts on defense.
Right.
So that's a huge guy for Vic Fangio to keep on that defense.
And what I do see with Vic Fangio and the Denver Broncos is kind of like he does like to keep his players in-house, and I like that about him. The best money you can spend in free agency is on your own guys that you know enough about. You have the medical, you have their work ethic, you have everything right in front of you. So these are good things going on.
And if you go back to even his time in Chicago, you see him with Eddie Jackson and Kyle Fuller. Adrian Amos was kind of stuck around for him.
Right.
But he's a guy that likes to keep guys in-house and build off the young talent he has. So
28 days later, what's up, Zach?
Hey, how's it
Craig,
going?
I think. Craig.
But I'm going to keep going down the line. Then there's Yanni, the DN from Jacksonville. He has a funky last name, so I don't want to butcher it on here.
Right.
But a young edge rusher, solid player, definitely a good pickup. Or keep, I guess, in this point.
For sure.
Then there's some other ones here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll go through them quickly. Chris Jones, D-line from Kansas City.
Excellent player.
Great player. Hunter Henry, tight end from the Chargers. They were able to keep him. Great young player as well. Anthony Harris, a safety from Minnesota, kind of undersold in the market, but obviously he was going to be valuable if he came available.
Yes.
So Joe Thuney, he's an O-lineman from New England. Don't know much about him.
He's a great system fit in New England, and he's definitely one of the top linemen.
Right.
Yes.
Leonard Williams, D lineman from the Giants. They had to go get him. He's a monster up front for him.
Right.
Bud Dupree, D-end linebacker from Pittsburgh. I think he's more still a guy that they feel has potential more than his stats have proven.
Right.
And Shaquille Barrett, outside linebacker for Tampa Bay. You had to go get him. He was going to get paid top money elsewhere if they did let him walk. Then we got Derrick Henry, of course, the king in Tennessee. Had to keep him.
Well, I would have thought that would have been a huge mistake had they let him even approach free agency.
Oh yeah, I mean the year he carried them to the AFC Championship game.
Well, he basically on his shoulders.
Yeah, and then last one there is Brandon Scherf, the guard from Washington.
Someone I
really wish I could have seen walk from Washington because he could have been a great fit for our Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
But glad to see that he's getting paid well, staying in Washington as well.
So we're going to dive into the first team on the list here, Cowboys all the way this year. L is a big Cowboys fan.
I can't agree there. I just feel like Mike McCarthy wasn't the right hire down there. I think they needed more of a rejuvenated system than going old school. But
the thing about Mike McCarthy though, when he's in it, he has been successful.
Absolutely. I mean, look at his success with the late Brett Favre and even
Aaron
he
spent
Rodgers.
the night at Jerry Jones' house. So
and he lied to him to get the job.
Well, yeah. So
he's a businessman himself.
So yeah, he gets his guy in Dallas, has him spend the night. And he's locked in. Anytime you spend the night at Jerry's house, I heard that you're going to probably stay.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And you're going to get big money.
Right.
So, as my dad Steve here was going to say before, we're just going to go down alphabetical order through the teams and kind of just cover their pickups and signs and everything.
And this is just from today. Understand that. A lot of
the last couple of days. There are some that have...
up to today.
Up to today.
Right.
And then we get the actual contracts signed in less than 24 hours now on the 18th. So there's going to be some stuff that doesn't go through maybe even after today or some stuff that's signed on paper.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I got my smart glasses on, so...
he can read today. I
can read a lot better. So we're going to start off with the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals. Arizona.
Went over Kenny and Drake already. I think it's a smart keep down there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the big thing, the biggest thing I think that kind of happened, we saw a top receiver in the NFL.
One of the first moves of the free agency market was old DeAndre Hopkins heading to the desert.
Whoa. I about dropped my frickin' jaw when I saw that. And, what a playmaker they're going to get to help out that young quarterback.
Absolutely. Kyler Murray must be drooling at this point.
He better be taking DeAndre out and showing him the good places to eat, because I'm telling you what, right now, that was huge. And I'll tell you what,
and we got a couple on here. Dumb people feeling that's a dumb trade by Houston. I mean, it's a guy that may have put Deshaun Watson on that level that he was top tier. And now you're going to find out if Deshaun Watson can do it without him at this point.
I'll tell you what, I'm scared. And, I've heard rumors down there, with the Houston Texans that
I think ship's almost overboard there.
Things are just a little bit.
Well, their head coach, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Me too, and
but he's their GM as well as their head coach. So I've never really seen that. How is that going to work out? He's going to get the guys that he feels is right. Could it help the organization? Is it going to burn house?
I think
it's a scary ship to be riding at this point.
In an NFL franchise, you need a few more cooks in the kitchen to kind of, for instance, give you your
Bill O'Brien. Thank you, Pat. Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, Bill O'Brien. Like the rumor said, if someone kind of crosses him in a little bit of a way, they find a way to ship that guy.
Yeah.
And right now, Bill O'Brien has the ear of the owner of the Texans now.
And he can, like I said, he can either burn ship, or he could take him to a place that other teams in this NFL might take, putting your head coach in that GM spot. There might be more people that do that.
Yeah. So get this. So DeAndre Hopkins, wide receiver, acquired in the trade with the Texans and the Arizona Cardinals, in exchange for running back David Johnson.
And I feel Arizona won this trade. David Johnson, inability to stay on the field. Top tier talent, obviously. There's a reason this guy's still being traded for. But can he stay on the field?
That's the issue.
And that's why I don't feel Houston won this trade at all. You're giving up DeAndre Hopkins day in, day out. He's going to give you 100 yards, multiple touchdowns, Pro Bowl, first team All-Pro talent.
Yeah.
Whereas David Johnson, you get that if he's on the field. Does he fit that system? Obviously,
I feel DeAndre Hopkins is heads and shoulders above David Johnson in the scoring department.
Even mentioning AJ Green with the free franchise tag, I think there's a huge leap in between AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yes.
You're talking top 5 receivers in the league.
The guy works his craft, Zach. Yeah. That's the thing. He's a route runner. He's a playmaker. Mm-hmm. He does change. Windows. He changes games.
Absolutely.
And David Johnson has not proved that. A couple years back, yes.
Yeah.
This might have been a more fair trade, but and
even the draft capital given up. I mean,
well, the Texans did acquire a second-round pick in a 2021 fourth rounder, but to me, Zach, what we were going to go over next in our draft analysis was wide receivers.
Yeah, and they're so abundant. It's so abundant, and there's so much talent. We were just talking about this before we started the live stream.
Outside.
There's teams that can trade down into the draft, get into the middle portion, give up that draft stock, and get a guy like Judy, get a guy like Josh Jefferson of LSU, CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma.
Those are
Chenault, there's 3 guys right there that
T.
can
Higgins,
change games.
There's so many polished wide receivers that probably...
It's the most plentiful position in the draft this year for guys that can change games for you.
I'm going to say this. NFL ready.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we kind of hit the nail on the coffin with Arizona.
Yeah.
The next one is going to be Atlanta. Not many moves by Atlanta.
And we're still early.
Their biggest one and only one I can think of is that trade for Hayden Hurst, the tight end from Baltimore. A guy that was drafted pretty high when he came out, but was obviously overshadowed by Mark Andrews' amazing season last year. So
agreed. And I do see Hayden Hurst. He did step in while Mark Andrews was down with a little bit of a nagging injury.
Yeah, and he showed he can contribute.
He's a big man.
Yeah,
he's a big man. And Tyler Davison, they felt it was very appropriate to bring him back on a 3-year, $12 million deal, which is a steal for that.
And absolutely. And there's some of these trades that we're going to go through and some of these extensions and signings that you're looking at young guys that are productive that kind of went under the radar and got signed for a home deal.
Yeah. No, I agree. Keeping some of these guys in-house has been some of the best things that have happened. I think that kind of polishes up that one right now. They still have some needs, I think, as far as, they need an edge rusher, a cornerback, a running back. I still think Atlanta needs that to complement their team right now, which, still early, guys. Don't fret if we haven't covered a lot on
there's
that.
There's still a lot of open free agents that big ones.
We went through a list, and there's many.
And I saw here Wendy left. Is it $12 million or what?
Jason Witten.
So when we say 12, put a number out there. It is $1 million. The 3 years, $30 million, so that'd be $10 million over 3 years, kind of. And some of those are inflated numbers too. That's kind of a longer story. It could be a 3-year, $30 million. With like $20 million guaranteed,
right?
And that's kind of a different story too. But
Jason Witten, by the way, a little bit shocked that Jason Witten actually
left Dallas to play again.
We're actually going to be covering that here in a little bit
Oakland,
because
I guess Vegas now.
He left the game to come back to the game to play for the Cowboys,
and now
he's a Raider. How did that? Whoa.
Right, and even when he was brought back to the Cowboys, there was talks that he could even end up in a coaching position for Dallas at some point. So it is really interesting to me to see him move on from even Dallas.
I have a feeling he'll always have a place in Dallas.
Absolutely,
he's
you look at like being a Bears fan, Devin Hester. I compare it to that kind of move. When he moved on and he went to Atlanta,
or Urlacher,
Urlacher,
he stayed. He stayed.
But there's guys that are always your Cowboys at heart or your Bears at heart. That do move on and play other places at the end of their career. So
Jason Witten will definitely.
I think the next we can jump right in if you want to cover the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, Baltimore, man, some big signings there.
And we did talk about Matt Judon, their edge rusher, coming back on the franchise tag.
Big signing there.
And I think that was smart. I think it's a productive guy.
Couple that with their new guy, Calais Campbell. Big man. Big man.
A little on the older side, but they did sign him to what's it say there?
It's a
2-year, $27 million.
Yeah, 2-year, $27 million with $20 million guaranteed.
Not bad.
Matt Judon coming back. Also, Matt Skura, their center.
A young guy that could end up being good.
He's a restricted free agent, as we spoke in the beginning. So if a team comes out and makes that offer to him,
right, it's kind of like that transition tag of Kenyon Drake.
Right. Michael Brockers. So they really bolstered their defense here. Michael Brockers also, he agreed to a 3-year, $30 million deal. So they're keeping a lot of their pieces in, adding a few pieces that they need. They're going to be a tough team. They're going to be back in this again. Do they add, some help for the quarterback?
Right, and that's a good
in the
question.
Draft?
And like we were saying before, this draft in that first round is very offense heavy. Maybe they're trying to solidify the defense to add one more piece to that offense to make it Super Bowl ready.
Yeah. So
and that was kind of it for Baltimore. Baltimore hasn't made many moves at this point, and there are teams that we're going to cover more than others.
That team's built to win now.
And exactly, and I think that's what their free agent signings have shown is they're solidifying to make another run. They're just filling in little pieces.
So, if you're just hopping in here, hope everyone is enjoying this. Obviously, this is something me and Zach really enjoy doing, talking about, and we like doing it. Lacey's over here doing editing of The Walking Dead.
Oh, I'm in the chat right now.
Yeah, she's in the chat right now. Oh, okay. Well, but she's over here doing something. But anyway, Buffalo Bills, big day for them. Wow.
Absolutely. So obviously we got to start with that Stephon Diggs trade from Minnesota. Man, I don't know how to feel about this. Stephon Diggs, obviously a great receiver. Very sharp with his route running, productive. Yes. Maybe didn't have the best quarterback throw to him, Kirk Cousins. We don't know yet. But look at the draft capital they gave up. They gave up a first-round pick this year, a fifth-round pick this year, a sixth-round pick this year, and a 4th-round pick in the next year's draft. That's a lot of talent coming out of this draft.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's the Vikings. I think this is a win for them.
And
as
absolutely.
Much as,
and I did see earlier in the chat, one of our viewers did say that Minnesota, they feel, right there, they feel their Vikings have extra cash now, letting Stephon Diggs go. They got the draft capital. I think that is fair, if not on their side for Stephon Diggs.
Right.
But on the other side, Buffalo did get someone to make this team even more Super Bowl ready. With Tom Brady officially leaving the AFC East,
which is
it is
huge,
wide open.
Huge domino effect. I don't know
Absolutely.
if anybody realizes this. The Tom Brady move, and we're going to get to that because that's a big piece of this segment, is the domino effect of the Tom Brady.
Absolutely. And speaking of Tom Brady, Ted in here says, my Patriots about to tank next season for Trevor Lawrence. Let's go.
Ooh.
That's an interesting look at what they could be doing. New England didn't really spend in these early days. They did solidify one of their offensive linemen with that tag, or with the extension, I think. But could they see their next Tom Brady with Trevor Lawrence? He is a great quarterback.
Well, they're going to be in a fight to get him. So, I mean, the thing is, we'll get to the Tom Brady talk because
they'll be coming up here very soon.
Oh, it is.
So,
Buffalo.
Continuing with Buffalo, we got Quentin Jefferson, D-end, was able to sign on a 2-year deal there. Josh Norman, obviously was one of the best corners in the game at one time. It's kind of fallen off. Maybe the change of scenery. Maybe he comes back and has a decent year for him.
Yeah.
And they signed him for pretty cheap, honestly. 1 year, $6 million. It's a decent deal. I think
Buffalo had some money to spend this year.
Yeah,
okay.
and I think they're in the same boat as I'd say even Baltimore before, where they made that playoff appearance, and I think they're bolstering to make a run at the Super Bowl. Definitely with the AFC East wide open now.
Yeah. Tom Brady exiting stage left has definitely opened the door for the AFC East.
Absolutely.
So,
I think the AFC in general now.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. Also, Quentin Spain, he re-signed with the Buffalo Bills on a 3-year, $15 million contract.
So next, we'll jump right into Carolina Panthers. Another big signing there. Teddy Bridgewater coming off the board. One of those top-tier quarterbacks of this free agent class.
Yes.
And he got paid as well.
Here's where the domino effects start to play in now.
Yeah, and this is a team that had a quarterback in Cam Newton. They're going to let him walk. They're going to let him request a trade. And now they're going with their guy Teddy and possibly drafting a quarterback.
Now, I'm going to tell you what, my problem with the whole Teddy Bridgewater situation, and I'm going to dive into it because that's what we do, right?
Absolutely.
Teddy Bridgewater comes into Minnesota as a first-round pick. He does decent, okay? He builds a little bit of a resume, but then gets hurt, okay?
A terrifying injury.
Pretty bad, pretty darn bad. After that, no one really wants him. He gets picked up as the highest free agent quarterback last year by the New Orleans Saints. He comes in. As far as I'm concerned, game manages.
Well, he was with New Orleans before that even. He sat, didn't really do anything, and then they were able to re-sign him as their backup quarterback.
Right.
And then Drew Brees obviously had that thumb surgery. He stepped in, went undefeated in his time behind center.
Right.
Obviously played really well against even our Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Some really good talent to keep New England in that playoff run to
New Orleans,
I'm sorry. To keep them in that
run.
New
England on
the I got Tom Brady on my mind.
The GOAT is influenced, hasn't he?
Yeah. So
I'm gonna be honest with you. Teddy, 3 years, $63 million. I don't know that I think that I hope it works out for him. I really do, because it'd be nice to see him get that back,
rejuvenate his career.
Yeah, I hope he's healthy. I hope he's ready.
Absolutely.
But
I think sitting behind Drew Brees, one of the arguably the best to play the game as well in this era. I think that does him really good to sit behind him and Sean Payton down in New Orleans for a couple of years.
Well, in lieu of the quarterback talk, Kyle Allen also is on a 1-year extension.
Good for him. Good for him. That guy stepped into a very
Deserved
tough
it.
situation in Carolina. A team, Ron Rivera out the door, Cam Newton, what's going on with him, what's kind of going on in Carolina, and kept him in a playoff race for majority of the season. Very, very tough guy down there, and deserves to stay there.
Yeah.
To compete.
And the biggest thing is now we do have Cam Newton on the
Seeking a
board.
trade.
So quarterback ready teams.
So this is like what we were saying before with Vegas maybe wanting Derek Carr out. That Carolina is really the first team that says, hey, we're going to sign a quarterback and let our old one walk. So there could be teams that follow it. This puts another domino into that free agent quarterback class of this year. So it's very interesting. They had some other ones. They did trade with the Chargers for Russell Okung.
You're right.
Okung, the left tackle.
Yep.
A little bit of an older guy, but solid for a rebuild, I think. Trey Boston comes back. I mean, not much from them other than that big Teddy Bridgewater signing. I think that's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. That was a big move on their behalf, and that's something apparently they've had.
And honestly, I think this does benefit Teddy Bridgewater as well. Is what we didn't think about was they did bring in LSU's quarterback coach or their offense coordinator, who had all that success with Joe Burrow.
Right.
He comes into now Teddy Bridgewater as a first-year starter again.
Exactly.
So next one is the Bears.
The Bears.
Some big moves, not really what we thought was going to happen with the Bears right off the bat, unless you feel different.
I'm going to tell you what. Jimmy Graham. We're going to start off with that. Jimmy Graham, little older in the tooth. He really didn't perform very well in Green Bay, which actually I thought him and their quarterback up there, I don't want to say his name. Just double check.
And
if there's a guy you're gonna probably do really well with, it would have been him.
I think with them out, without them going and spending that big money to try to go get Hooper, Austin Hooper was the other big name coming out of free agency for tight end. I think this is a smart move by them. They didn't overspend on him. I don't think $8 million a year. Yeah. But you can cut that off after next year, I think. I'm sure they structured the contract, but they're not paying a lot of that next year.
Right.
But this is a guy that might motivate Trey Burton to get back on the field, that's bolster some of the young guys they have on the roster.
That was my whole thinking in the signing of Jimmy Graham. This is an insurance
I don't feel
policy.
like he fits Mitchell Trubisky. I don't feel like he fits him very well. I think Trubisky needs more athletic tight ends out there. Just because he's not the most accurate guy, and I don't think Jimmy Graham's going to go make a huge catch, but he does have that big body. We're going to go right next into Robert Quinn. I know you're big on this signing from Dallas. They did spend the bank on him as far as their free agencies goes. They gave him a 5-year, $70 million contract. So he's a guy that has the numbers, 11.5 sacks from last year.
Right.
Can he continue that for the next 3-4 years in Chicago?
Well, I'll tell you what you're going to get is you're going to get a lot of more where you can't double team Khalil Mack.
Absolutely.
And triple team him come off the edge. Robert Quinn takes up that spot and relieves him with that.
He's gonna. I think he'll complement him more in the pass rush than Leonard Floyd did, who they will be cutting to.
He is cut. Yep.
Yeah, to get Robert Quinn his spot pretty much. With that Chuck Pagano defense, I know he's wanting those 4 down linemen coming at the quarterback every down, whereas Leonard Floyd was more of a hybrid. He had to drop back because he couldn't really get that pressure on the quarterback.
Right.
Robert Quinn, he's proven that he can get after the quarterback as well.
It's true. So, it is true, and he's definitely a veteran. I think a very good piece. He was their number 2 in Dallas, and obviously we have Dallas fans in here. I'm sure L probably didn't like that move, but look, the guy's good.
And he is. He's been productive since he's been in the league.
Yeah.
Then last one, a very smart signing, I feel, in my eyes. Dan Trevathan meshes so well with Roquan Smith out the middle of that defense.
Yes.
Predominant leader on that team. If you weren't going to go and sign Nick Kwiatkowski for the long term, Jan Trevathan's definitely even better than him.
Well, the one thing Chicago's known for, me and you know this, is never our quarterback play, but it's always been the defense.
And that middle linebacker spot being secure. I mean, you look at the success we had in the early 2000s with Brian Urlacher. We kind of lost him. We fell into a rut where our defense didn't know really where to go. And then we went and grabbed Dane Trevathan from Denver, and he really solidified that group together.
Yeah.
And then with that Khalil Mack trade a couple years ago, that put him on another level.
And I still feel that was the right move.
Absolutely.
So,
and we could talk all day about the Chicago Bears, obviously.
But we're going to move on because you guys...
Let's move on.
A big team that actually is sitting here in alphabetical order. Like I said, we're just going down the list here. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, and I think they made some moves to kind of see where the draft falls for him. Obviously, getting AJ Green back on that franchise tag. They want to have Joe Burrow with somebody to throw to,
right?
Top tier talent, and Joe Burrow wanted that too. Trey Waynes was a younger corner,
yes,
from Minnesota. Didn't really get his shot there behind Xavier Woods. When he did, I don't think he played bad, but I think it was kind of like we'll give you a shot here kind of contract they gave him.
Right.
And then they had DJ Reader from Houston, one of their best D linemen that was able to walk, and he definitely got paid on a 4-year, $53 million contract.
And they're not done
in
yet.
Cincinnati.
They are
absolutely not. I think they are sitting very well in the draft. With getting Joe Burrow, you're going to have another high second-round pick. These guys are set to, I think, make an impact on the draft. I think that draft's going to be their big.
And I hope so, because I think it's time the Bengals actually start taking care of their facilities and get these people in there.
They need money there.
And I think getting Joe Burrow, that's a no-brainer, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we predicted that from get-go. So.
And Cincinnati, like we said, not a big team in the free agency so far, but the draft is coming up where I think they're gonna make their mark.
The other thing is, does Cincinnati deal Andy Dalton?
And I think that's something we haven't even seen really yet. He kind of fell off in the first 2 days, as well as James Winston and now Cam Newton and stuff. I think he will get moved.
Me too.
After these moves that have happened. I think people are going to start reaching at this point. I think you saw your first wave. I think now you're going to see people get picky with.
Once that Tom Brady piece fell, I knew this was going to be the outcome. It was going to have to.
Free agency is technically starts tomorrow because everything that we're saying right now is not penciled on paper yet. It's not or pen to paper.
Right.
It's not. These are agreed upon terms.
That's it. That's just it.
You still have a lot of people, like we said before, on the board, even quarterbacks in this case, that are going to start flying. Now let's go. Their next door neighbors in Cleveland.
Yeah.
The Browns. They made some moves that were interesting as well.
It's actually pronounced Cleveland.
Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns. They have been busy. Okay, so
they made some big moves
once again. Lacey apparently is jumping out. So, Cleveland, we have Jack Conklin, offensive tackle. He agreed on a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Browns. Good tackle. Very good tackle.
Absolutely. And he was a guy
that's something they needed.
And that's something that people thought they were going to address in the draft. But obviously, I think they're wanting to do both. I think that's not the end of where they're going there. Conklin is obviously a great addition to that team.
Right.
But I don't think they're done there. And then they solidify their passing game even more, which I thought couldn't be done.
How could you get better?
They go grab Austin Hooper from Atlanta.
But hear this. David Njoku
is no joke. I mean, he's a guy that's probably going to get moved on from.
That's what I think.
And a team is going to get a good deal with him.
Well, he was battling injuries, okay? Mm-hmm. And that's going to happen in the NFL, man. This is a contact
And even now,
sport,
they're going to that 17-week season. You're going to see, I think you're going to see a lot more of those depth-type players get reps.
Right. No, you're exactly right. Austin Hooper, big deal. So he is the highest paid tight end.
Craig did say he wanted Hooper in Green Bay. If you were looking for a tight end, Craig obviously knows we're Bears fans. If you're in that need for a tight end, Hooper was obviously one of those guys that your team wasn't going to miss with him,
Right.
in signing him. Unfortunately, Atlanta couldn't keep him. Matt Ryan's maybe on his way out. That's a big piece that he's missing now down there.
Yeah, but huge.
Yeah.
And so
this is the one that I want to kind of go more in depth for. They didn't really do much other than they did get Kareem Hunt as a restricted free agent, but Case Keenum going there on a 3-year, $18 million contract. Didn't overpay for him.
Right.
But did they bring him in to compete for that starting job against Baker Mayfield? Are they still confident he's the guy?
And are we going to see the more commercials?
I mean,
And
I think you're going to see a big cut down
the lights and taking care of who's going to take care of the stadium?
Who's going to mow the lawn there?
Jesus H.
Maybe they're giving him more time to shoot the commercials. And while he's doing that, Case Keenum can run first team for him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. But anyway, Case Keenum has proven he
went to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
I mean,
he threw the pass.
The Minneapolis,
yeah.
the Minneapolis Miracle.
That's it. I figured if I keep talking, I'd just screw you up.
But I think that's an interesting move. I think that shows that they're where the Bears are almost with Trubisky is you better start proving that you can win here.
Yeah.
Because we put the people around you to
I like
do
what they did. I like what they did. You know, Baker put up or shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think Baker is their guy. I think this just...
That dude's a grinder.
This is going to make him step it up even more. Because you have
He's not a guy that's going to get razzled by competition. You're talking about a guy that walked on at Alabama or Oklahoma and played at Texas Tech behind people. This is a guy that's fought, like we were saying with Jalen Hurts in the last episode. This guy's fought for every down. He's not going to let Case Keenum come in and take that job. He's going to look at it as an underdog story. He's going to come in there and
but if they
beat him out.
But I'll tell you what, this is a cheap deal for someone to push your number one to get to where he needs to be, and I think that's the key here.
Absolutely,
because he has the weapons. I mean, you're keeping Kareem Hunt as well. We don't know that yet.
And Pat on here, it brings up a good point. Do you think one of OBJ or Javar's Landry gets traded now that they have Austin Hooper to complement one of those guys?
Gosh,
I could see Odell Beckham requesting a trade.
You grab me something to drink. Huh? Yeah.
And I could see Odell Beckham asking for a trade at this point, or maybe them trading him. That's a good point, Pat. That's interesting.
They have so many pieces there, though. I mean, my gosh, you're talking, OBJ. You're talking. I mean, this team. When I saw it last year, I was like, "Holy cow! Watch out, NFL! Yeah. They're about to throw some numbers up on you." And how you could screw that up. I mean, I guarantee if I hand you the keys to that.
Freddie Kitchens got handed the keys to Ferrari, and he crashed and burned hard.
Yeah. I don't know how you put that many.
We'll go down south to everything's bigger in Texas Cowboys.
So America's team, the Bears. I mean the Cowboys. Actually,
there's only two big signings I see here that they obviously did was the exclusive franchise tag on Dak Prescott,
which needed to
happen, and then on top of that Amari Cooper signing of 5 years, $100 million. Very deserving of a guy that's done nothing but produce.
You know what? He never complains. He never does anything. Above
and in Dallas.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of happy for the Cowboys fans to get their guy back in Amari Cooper, and obviously Dak Prescott is definitely a player that I even enjoy watching.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we've ever...
He plays the game right.
I
mean,
he's
hard not to
he has the hips. He can do the
hip dance.
The thing, the thing. I like when he does that. Dak is... Look, they don't sign him. The Cowboys don't go to the Super Bowl for a very long time.
Yeah, and those two complement each other really well. I think we'll just keep going down the list. Denver Broncos. We can kind of pick it up now to get to those other big ones.
Yeah.
They signed AJ Bouye. Good signing for them. A solid corner, as well as Graham Glasgow, offensive guard. Big name in the free agent for the offensive line.
He got paid.
And he got paid big time as well.
4 years, $44 million. Very good money for an offensive guard.
Absolutely. And then they also placed that franchise tag on Justin Simmons, the safety. Very important signing for them. with him.
As far as I'm concerned, that was really big.
Next, we're going to stay in the NFC North for a couple teams here. We're going to go over Detroit and Green Bay. Detroit a little bit heavier on free agency than Green Bay. They do go get Bears backup Chase Daniel. I think that's more of a mentor thing there. Jamie Collins, linebacker from New England.
Right.
Solid guy, a little bit older, but very, very productive. And then, let me see. But they also picked up a tackle.
We're not going to pronounce that.
But he did.
Vatai, I believe is his
Vatai.
last name. I don't know much about him, to be super honest with you.
But he did get paid. I mean, obviously he's been decent because he did get a 5-year, $50 million.
He's a guy I'm not really up on that much, but he got 5-year, $50 million deal. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, and then Green Bay, only having 2 signings so far that I see, is they have Christian Kirkley, linebacker from Cleveland, very good player that Cleveland unfortunately has to let walk. He gets paid in Green Bay.
And it's a position of need for the Packers.
And it is. And Blake Martinez, they did let walk, but I think this is an upgrade from Blake Martinez.
Oh, big time.
Big time. This guy's sideline very well, able to defend the pass. I think he fits Green Bay's, what they're trying to do there, is solidify that backside of their defense.
Well, I'll tell you what, they've done a very good job. And, Zadarius Smith,
They got the Smith brothers. Zadarius, obviously, I think the better. They got Kenny Clark in the middle there.
Yep.
Now you got Kirkley. You have your receivers and your corners and King and Jair Alexander.
Yes.
Adrian Amos and Savage on the backside.
Yep.
I think they did very well drafting those positions. I got to give them credit there.
Their front office did a very good job, in picking up the pieces and actually spending money in free agency, which are not typically you're used to seeing by the Green Bay Packers. But they did a really good job. They also paid they did lose Balaga.
They did.
Okay,
that does hurt.
But they turned around. They signed Ricky Wagner, which agreed to terms. We don't know the money amount.
No money amount yet. But this is a guy that's got to come in and prove that he can fill that spot for him. Brian Balaga, he was this heart and soul of that line.
I think Bakateri was more so, but Balaga on the other end, but he did have some injury issues that did affect the Packers in years past.
Can this guy stay on the field and be productive for Aaron Rodgers?
Well, that's a question that's going to have to be answered.
Where are they going to go in the draft now? Now, can they go solidify this offensive line a little bit more for Aaron Rodgers as he gets older?
I'm gonna be honest.
Or do you go draft a wide receiver like LSU's guy, like Oklahoma's guy? They're in that spot. They could make a move like that.
I'm going to tell you, if I'm the Packers right now. Okay, and this is just my opinion. As much as I dislike the Packers, I have to pay attention to them. This is their year. I think they could go in there and actually grab a quarterback. I feel that there's one in there, and I have one in mind right now that would fit very well for Green Bay. I think Anthony Gordon fits that very well. I think there's a couple quarterbacks with that big arm.
And he kind of fits the script of what they've looked at.
Could sit behind Aaron Rodgers.
You look at what they looked at with Aaron Rodgers, a West Coast kid from California, went to Cal. This is a guy that's from California, went to Washington State, very productive there. There's kind of the comparison there. You may be right there. It could be a good time for them to do it.
Yeah, and I think they can even do it in the second and later rounds.
I think they can move back and do it.
I really do.
Let's go.
But I do want to say a couple more things about Green Bay. Their needs. I think, as far as I'm concerned, to get them to that next level, they do need a tight end.
Yeah, and I did see Pat on here. He said Green Bay, he feels, might go after Eric Ebron.
That makes sense to me.
And I think that makes sense as well.
And they need a receiver. And I think this, I'm telling you guys, if I haven't told you before, this is the draft to get a compliment to Devontae Adams.
Absolutely.
That could actually take the Packers to that next level.
Absolutely.
And I'm being honest about it.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as we'd hate to see the Packers thrive, we do see what they need to do to thrive.
We got the defense to beat them, but I mean...
and we got everything to complement anything we can grab.
Yeah, I mean, you can't throw when you're on your back.
But I think Green Bay, if they can keep that offense rocking like they kind of caught on to last year, they can solidify the defense. I think they're... alongside the Bears, I feel, as being able to contend for that NFC North title again.
Yeah.
I think they're both sitting in kind of the same spot this year.
Well, you got some teams in the North that are pretty impressive with the Vikings. They're going to be retooled over You got Green Bay, which if they do the right thing in the draft, are already on that level, but can take that next step, I believe. And, the Bears falling off this last year, I think they've got a few pieces that are fitting very well. So good news for the North. I think if they play it right, you're going to see some really nice
Absolutely.
football.
And we're going to go down south again, AFC South to Houston. Not really any big signs I'm seeing here. They did get Randall Cobb. They re-signed their kicker in Fairbairn. They did go trade for David Johnson with that DeAndre Hopkins trade. We kind of already got into that.
Right.
And I think they kind of just re-signed a couple guys. Bradley Roby, a cornerback, they did sign him.
No, I like that.
I
like that. But I'm gonna hop back on to the Houston Texans again. I'm gonna give them a little bit of beef. Okay. Randall Cobb is not DeAndre Hopkins. It's not going to make anyone feel better about that. If I'm a Houston Texans fan, God bless you all down there, but I'd be pissed.
Absolutely.
I'd be pissed.
You just took one of the best to one of arguably the worst in the game that you could have. Randall Cobb's reaching that 34, 35 years old. Can't stay on the field, not very productive on the field unless he's playing the Bears.
And there's players like that can typically, but what I'm trying to,
and you just kind of crap the bed on that trade. Honestly,
I don't like it. I think it was bad, and I think that'll end his career down there. Not maybe this year, but probably the next year.
And other than that, I think we kind of hit it on there. They did sign A.J. McCarron, Alabama boy, as their backup.
Good for them.
So I mean, there you go. There's your wrap up of their free agency. They have a big need at wide receiver.
And I don't know what their cap space looked like. I don't know where they were sitting at. Maybe this.
I do know they're sitting where they have to sign Deshaun Watson very soon in the next year to two. Maybe they're freeing up space to lock him down for a very long term deal.
Right.
So maybe it's there. I think we kind of hit them when we hit Arizona as well. I don't want to stay on there too much. I did see we had someone in there, Isaiah, asking, are the Colts trash? We're going to cover that right now because they're the next one on the board. They did make a very bold move. I'm going to skip Phillip Rivers right now. I'm going to go to that DeForest Buckner trade that they made. They traded their first-round pick to grab this guy. This is a guy that had a decent year before. Now, next to Nick Bosa, had an even better year. But now can he do it without Nick Bosa and that talent around him? You saw Armstead get another contract. Nick Bosa is obviously the real deal. Is this guy as well the real deal? And can he solidify that Indianapolis defense?
I really do think so. I don't know that giving the number 13th pick for him was. Hear me out. I don't know that justifies.
Let's go back into the comments a little bit further. I remember someone saying that New England could be tanking to get a quarterback next year. Maybe Indianapolis now sees, maybe we're not going to hit this year on quarterbacks. Maybe if we wait another year, we can go tank for Trevor Lawrence or get another.
No, I don't know. I truly don't believe that. I truly believe that. I truly believe Indianapolis is set to win. I really do. Yeah, I do. They do have some pretty good pieces. The year before, 2019 or the 2018-19
with Andrew
year.
Luck.
Yeah, they were winning.
Yeah, and they made it to the divisional round of the playoffs, I believe.
The only thing that really detoured this team from probably taking off in 2020 was the drop off of Andrew Luck and leaving them in a conundrum.
Right, and you kind of were forced into
their defense
riding
is there.
With Jacoby Brissett.
Their defense is there. The
absolutely,
pieces...
you got Leonard, your linebacker, who's an absolute stud.
Yes.
Malik Hooker at your safety, he's a stud.
And you just brought in DeForest Buckner, which, hey, look, I like it and I don't like it.
See, we got Pat here. He says he's a 49ers fan. He's going to miss DeForest Buckner, but that 13th overall pick is going to be very nice for the 49ers.
I'm not so sure the 49ers can't grab their man to replace him in this first round, and I have an idea.
Well, you think about it now. Now they're sitting with the 31st pick and the 13th pick. Could they couple? Are they happy with Jimmy Garoppolo? Could they couple those into trading down for Tua. I mean, or could you solidify your team even further?
I mean, why would you do that?
Well, they were talking about trading for Tom Brady.
I think there's rumors that. I think there's rumors that there was.
Maybe they're not happy there, but I think with both those picks, I think you could trade down and grab a very solid quarterback or Chase Young.
Well, look, that defense is sitting pretty right now. I think they can add their piece back in the draft.
Absolutely.
And, that 13th pick, this is what you want. You want the picks. You want that. And sometimes, and I believe DeForest Buckner was going to be requiring quite a bit of a cap hit at some point, and they still have younger players. Okay, Bosa. I mean, come on. The guy is probably one of the best in the game. Period.
Absolutely.
He plays with a 100-mile-an-hour frickin' attitude, and
it's in his DNA. Look at his brother Joey Bosa in L.A., and look at the production he's even had.
Right.
He's a built winner.
Right.
And then, obviously, I said I was going to skip it. I'll come back to it. Phillip Rivers signing for a 1-year, $25 million contract. That kind of goes against what they did with getting rid of that 13th pick, because they could have drafted that quarterback to bridge with Phillip Rivers, but now they kind of traded themselves out of that. So,
well, Phillip Rivers is a winner. He's a competitor. We know that.
Absolutely, and I think he can come in and he can win with this team now. If not, give very good competition with Jacoby Brissett and make him a better player for years to come. If that's what they
I think it's a good fit, and I do believe they can actually maybe grab that quarterback, in the second or third round, or maybe next year. Looking at that, but he's kind of a bridge quarterback. But to sign him to 1 year and say that you're going to bring someone in when you trade your 13th pick, that's kind of.
It's a weird move to me.
It is.
It
really
doesn't make much sense.
It's almost like you're happy and sad at the same time.
Ted says there, Rivers has 0 rings. He's had teams around him for a while. He's been in the league for a long time. He's never been able to get out of that playoff. He's never been able to surpass Brady or Manning or Flacco or any of those guys, Ben Roethlisberger, to make it to that game. He's never been able to do it.
Right. We know one thing about him. He is a competitor. He is a player. He plays with his heart on his sleeve every frickin' time. But you're right.
He's old.
He's, have we seen the downturn of him? I know, Pat McAfee's high on him,
I think Pat McAfee's more high on him just because of the character you're getting, the grit you're getting with this guy. He's going to go out there and he's going to compete to win every single down. But is he physically able to?
Does he still have that physical endurance to put the zip on the ball like he used to?
Right.
I think he'll be okay. He'll be in a dome for most of the games.
Right.
And
I think even more than half of them, because he's got to play Houston.
Yep.
That's a dome. I mean, he's going to have better. Maybe not in Jacksonville not Jacksonville, but
he wasn't playing in
Tennessee.
He wasn't playing in the winter out in San Diego either.
True.
So there's that.
Right. So let's jump down to another team down.
Someone else I think is really big is they did resign their offensive tackle Anthony Costanzo, which was I think a no-brainer. They needed to keep him.
Well, definitely with getting Phillip Rivers too. I mean, if you're going to sign a quarterback, you got to have the guys to protect him as well. Right.
Jacksonville Jaguars really didn't have a lot of money.
They kind of did it to themselves with Jalen Ramsey and AJ Bouye when they made that big push to the AFC Championship game with Calais Campbell. All those guys, they kind of are sitting in a spot where you're going to have to wait a couple years to get where you're wanting to go with these guys.
Right.
I think.
Right.
They did franchise tag their edge rusher in Yanni. Solid player. That's not a guy that you can get rid of just because how young he is, how talented he is. He's a guy, no matter if you're rebuilding or not, you got to keep. You got to keep him.
Yeah, and also a cornerback, Denard, also agreed to a $13.5 million contract.
Over 3 years.
But the biggest contract out of this is Joe Schobert.
This is obviously a guy that they feel is going to be solid for years to come. Sign him to a 5-year deal. $53.75 million guaranteed. It's a big haul for a linebacker. That must be a guy that they're very high on. I believe he was in Cleveland before.
Right.
So obviously he is a good player. I mean, next we'll go to Kansas City. We already covered them. Their only move so far is Chris Jones, putting the tag on him, keeping him around. Very important. Now we'll jump down to Vegas, and they got one of my favorite guys down there, in Nick Kwiatkowski, linebacker from the Bears. Unfortunately, we couldn't keep both him and Trevathan. It would have been nice too, but I think we did the smart move letting him walk. He did get paid. I mean, he got the 3-year, $21 million. I think that's more than he would have got offered from the Bears. So good for him. And now we'll go. I think the other one would have been Jason Witten down there.
Well, yeah, that one kind of shocked me. I'm shocked they were able to pry him out of Dallas.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And we don't have a number.
Thank you, Al.
We didn't have a number for him, but we do hear that he's on a 1-year contract. Yeah, I appreciate that. We do love football. I mean,
we do.
We talk about it 24/7, and so it's nice to be able to come out here and talk to you guys and kind of share our feelings and knowledge of the game with other people. So,
yeah, especially if you're into football. This is
definitely a channel for you.
Fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. Let's read a few of the comments Ben is saying.
Craig says here, Ben is saying that Cam may go to the Bears for a 3rd and 4th round pick. Unfortunately, we don't have a 3rd round pick, but we do have 4th and 2 6th. We do have draft capital for next year that we could trade into this. We do have our 1st, 2nd, 3rd round. I mean, we do have our picks for next year. Maybe we could couple them into getting Cam and see if he can rejuvenate.
Well, I do think that would be actually a good fit for Cam because it's a bigger marketplace. Cam is a big-time guy.
Absolutely. I think he fits in with the character of the guys we have even on the opposite side of the ball, and Eddie Jackson and Trevathan.
Yeah. I could see
they got kind of the swaggy way to play the game, like Tariq Cohen. They have a lot of fun when they play, and I think Cam Newton will fit very well in that kind of system there.
I would agree with that.
Even with Nagy, even with Matt Nagy, he's kind of an upbeat, kind of fresh coach.
Yep.
I think he'd like the fit there.
Yeah, I think he'd fit very well as myself with the Bears. So they signed Jeff Heath, the safety, the Vegas Raiders.
Oh, yeah, and they did sign Marcus Mariota.
Nick Kwiatkowski, I do want to back up on that. I know he was a favorite of yours. To me, when he stepped in, I liked what he did. I do think there's things that he lacks as well.
And absolutely. I think that's why he couldn't make the jump to starter for the Bears.
I don't think he's a 3-down backer. I don't want to... Probably shouldn't say that because he'll probably end up being very good at that. He's still young. He's a hitter.
Well, the thing I like about him is when he first came to the Bears, he was a run-down back where he couldn't play the pass. That was his big downside. And then you saw this year where he was thrown into the position where he had to play 3 downs. He had to show that he could.
True.
And he showed progression throughout the year. I mean, the dude's a banger. I mean, he can go down there, and you saw him against Minnesota light up Dalvin Cook. You saw him against top-tier teams go out there and fill a very big void that was taken with Danny Trevathan. He showed that he could play the pass. He did drop a couple interceptions, but then again, he was in that position to make the play.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, he did show that he did show that he has the ability to grow as a linebacker, and I think Vegas definitely got a very good linebacker in him.
Well, I'll tell you what, for 3 years, $21 million, I think that's appropriate for him. And
he's going to go down there. He's going to be a captain of that defense. I can guarantee in a couple of years. I do think so. He had a lot of good players around him that mentored him to where he is.
Now, I will tell you the guy I thought was a really good sign by the Raiders was Corey Littleton. He's also a linebacker. They needed linebacker help. They went out and they
did, and they got it.
And Corey Littleton is a 3-down.
And another thing to add on it, they have those 2 first-round picks, both sitting right in the middle of the pack. Right. You're going to get some good talent there to complement either these guys or your offensive side of the ball. I think Vegas is sitting very pretty going into that first year in Vegas.
Well, another thing that happened was Marcus Mariota, longtime Tennessee Titan, their first-round draft pick, number 2 pick overall, picked up by the Raiders. We don't know the terms of the contract. We don't know anything.
with them picking him up, I think that they're showing that they're going to stick with Derek Carr down there as well.
See, I
think they're going to have a competition down there.
I truly don't believe that.
Well, with him being on a 1-year deal, I don't see them.
Well,
really,
the terms are not discussed yet.
But I don't see them. I think it's going to be a Tannehill situation. I think it's going to be they're going to roll with their guy. If he's not performing, they'll have Mariota jump in.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think the Raiders are still have their eye out on the market. I really do. Quarterback, that's one thing with John Gruden. He likes to manipulate and massage. Yeah. Derek Carr was not his guy.
Right.
I think there's someone sitting out there, and I'm probably gonna say this and probably bite my tongue for saying it, but I think Jameis Winston.
I don't see it just because they just did go out and get Mariota. I don't think they'll go out and grab another free agent quarterback of that caliber.
I don't know.
I do see Pat. He has some good points here. They do need a number one receiver. They did lose Amari Cooper. With them sitting in that middle of the draft, I think they're definitely going to grab one of those. You're definitely going to see one of those top-tier wide receivers go to Oakland, and that's something that we'll cover in our video of the receivers.
Yeah, that was definitely a place I had.
And definitely you could see a CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy kind of player go there. As well as he agrees that he thinks they'll keep Carr for another year, and that's
if they're smart. If they're smart, they would.
I think he was very productive for the system he was thrown into this year.
I do feel there's enough, and hear me out when I say this. There's something about a quarterback. There's no other position like it, guys. When you play quarterback, that's one guy out on the field, and when you've held up that position, and all of a sudden you're thrown into trade talks, wanting someone else, and all that wears on you mentally.
Absolutely.
And I truly believe that Derek Carr is not where he needs to be.
I do agree. I do agree there, but I don't see them moving on from him. I see them bringing in competition against him just because they're not sitting in that spot where they can go grab one of those top tier quarterbacks this year.
I'm gonna make a prediction though
for the draft.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I do think they're gonna move on from Derek Carr. I truly believe that there's someone out there that will throw a draft pick their way. They'll take it. They'll release him, and they'll also pick up a quarterback in the draft. Also a quarterback, one more in free agency.
That's a bold prediction, and it'd be interesting to see that happen. I think we can go to our next ones here. We do have the Chargers.
Yes.
They did place a tag on Hunter Henry. Good move. What we talked about before, they got Brian Bulaga, the tackle. They signed him.
Right.
They did get Austin Eckler. He had a good year for him at running back. I think it's another smart move.
Keeping him in the fold, I think, was very smart. Now, what that does with
Melvin Gordon is are they wanting that 2-back tandem still? Are they running with Eckler? Are they solid with him?
I think once they spent this money with Eckler, I think that's who their guy is. I do believe they're going to move on.
And I think it'd be interesting to see where Melvin Gordon goes. He could be a guy that ends up in Green Bay, in Chicago.
I don't see Green Bay because they have their guy.
Okay.
I truly believe they got their guy up there. I mean, who actually had one hell of a year.
Jones.
I mean, he was what? I think he led the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
He might have.
That's nothing to write home about. I mean,
yeah, and then there's a lot of love coming from for Eckler on here right now. I do like him. He's a stud, and he fits the system really well. And I think with the young talent they're going to have coming out there, that's a tough team. And I think they're very underlooked right now after losing Phillip Rivers. I think they're going to be a team built to win again very soon.
And look, that position's wide open right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and they got to bring someone in. I mean, who do you think fits the San Diego Chargers? I mean, Tom Brady's obviously
it's Los Angeles now, but
Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to have a hard time with that for a while. Who's their guy?
See, after doing our video and on the quarterbacks for the NFL draft coming up, I do like Justin Herbert going there from Oregon. I do like that move. I'd also like to see them make a move for a free agent quarterback like Cam Newton. I did see, I think it was Ted or Pat that said that he could see Cam Newton going out to L.A.
Well, he'll get his money there.
And he will.
And I think he'll put butts in the seats.
Yeah, and I mean, he'll be out there with a lot of stars. The stars are attracted to L.A. right now with basketball and everything else. It's a very attractive place to go play sports. But other than that, they did sign Trey Turner, a guard. It's a solid keep. And they were involved in a trade with Russell Akue that they sent out. They did get a tackle back for him.
Right.
I'm blanking on his name right now, but they did get another lineman in that trade. They kind of just swapped players. Next would be the Rams. Rams haven't made any moves as of right now. So they're sitting quiet. A team that's kind of handicapped as well with their salary caps and the move they made, and they're still trying to get Jalen Ramsey signed for a big.
I don't see them being a big player other than
I think they're on their decline of their run in the AFC West or the NFC West with Seattle staying tough. Arizona's coming up big time on them.
San Francisco.
San Francisco's top tier there. I think they're on their way down in that conference.
Right, and right now wouldn't be a bad time to be looking at that.
Absolutely, and I think it'd almost be a time for them. They're sitting there. I think it's time to go into rebuild mode. I think there's a lot of old talent there, a lot of big names. You're going to have to start dropping them. And I did see someone on here. Gurley being shopped, Bucks interested. I didn't know that. But that'd be a good move. This is a guy that I was telling you the other day. It's like every time he runs the ball, you're afraid he's going to blow his knees out. Like it's arthritis as a running back at that young of age. He's a stud. I'd love to see him be productive, but he has a lot of wear and tear on him at this point.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder what, is this offseason going to help him? Did he go and get some stuff cleaned up in the knees?
Yeah.
I hope that's it because Todd Gurley is really a fascinating player in himself. He was able to take over games. I mean, hell, he's won many people fantasy football, you know, in the past. And great player to watch. I hope he does get it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're going to move on. That boat hasn't really done anything. The biggest thing for them is re-signing what they have and what they have in
what
place.
They can salvage.
Or, creating cap space.
Yeah, absolutely.
One or the other.
Yeah, let's jump down to Miami. You can kind of hit on them real quick. They made a lot of moves.
Oh, my gosh, Miami. Let me tell you right now, they had a lot of cash to spend. A lot.
And they definitely went and spent it.
And they did. They wasted no time in signing Eric Flowers, an offensive tackle. You can go ahead. And on a 3-year, $30 million contract. One of the biggest signings, I feel, that was a takeaway from the Dallas Cowboys, Byron Jones. He agreed to a 5-year, $82 million contract. There wasn't anyone going to touch that.
No, I mean, they went out and they grabbed these guys saying, we have the money, we have the draft picks. They're wanting to contend right away now. They're done with their. They feel with this rebuild they're gonna set it to win right away.
Getting pieces of the puzzle.
Byron Jones. Yep. They went and they spent on him. They went and they spent on Shaq Lawson. They went and spent on Kyle Van Noy. They went and they signed these guys that are vets, that are winners, and they said, hey, we're gonna make a run now.
Right.
And they're gonna go grab their quarter. I think they're gonna go grab their quarterback in Tua. I think they're gonna grab another guy at the end later in the draft. I think they have 3 first-round picks. I mean. They're set to make some noise this year.
And they did add, like I said, an edge rusher and Emmanuel Ogbah on a 2-year, $15 million contract. Also another edge rusher in Shaq Lawson out of, I believe he was out of...
Who?
Shaq Lawson. Wasn't he out
Tampa
of
Bay, I believe.
Clemson?
Clemson.
He played for Clemson?
But I want to go through the comments here real quick. Dan, I thank you for that. We love going through football, as you said before. Pat's had some good points as well. He loves the Byron Jones signing. We agree with that. Also, another one that's not on our list here, but I did see earlier, Jordan Howard getting signed down there. I love that sign. I love Jordan Howard coming from the Bears. Weirdly, he's on the screen right now for us right now.
Actually is. Yeah.
But I loved him in Chicago.
Nothing
Guy
not
got
to
hurt
love
in
about
Philly.
him.
I hope he's rejuvenated and ready to make a run in Miami.
Jordan Howard is a tough runner.
Absolutely.
And he's a smart runner. And he will work his ass off. That's
I think
what
he's
going to
fit. I think he's going to fit what they're trying to do down there.
Oh, me too. Me too. Some good pieces. I mean, they overachieved even last year when everybody thought they were tanking. They actually...
yeah, and they started winning games. I think they ended up winning, 5 games last year? So, I mean... and they still have Ryan Fitzpatrick down there to bridge in a quarterback coming in. So
exactly,
it's very interesting to see what the AFC. I'm really intrigued to see what the AFC West is going to do this year
AFC
with it
East.
being East.
Yep.
Sorry, the AFC East with it being so wide open.
Yep, almost through here. We're going to go up north to the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm going to be honest with you, actually. Got one hell of a deal.
And they did. With the Stephon Diggs trade that we covered before, they won with that. They haven't made many big moves in free agency. They lost Trey Waynes, which was a guy that they could have kept, I think, but decided to move on from. There is talks of them drafting a corner in the first round. I think there's some talent at corner as well in this draft. And then they did solidify Anthony Harris at safety. I think he's a very good complement to Smith back there. That defense is still very solid. And I want to touch something that maybe we're not wouldn't be touching here, but Everson Griffith not getting signed yet. He's still unrestricted free agent.
Right.
So he's a free agent. So where does he come back? Does he move?
My prediction is he comes back. He's a good player.
He is. He's a force.
Really good player.
He's a force on that defense.
He really is. He really is. And I can't imagine him in another uniform, to be honest with you.
I could see him going to Tampa Bay. I could see him going to a team like that, or a young team that's in that building stage. I could see him going to Miami. I could see him going to some of these up and coming teams like Arizona.
Well, I think Miami's wanting to actually go the youth route a little bit. Because with their signings, I am seeing, they're getting veteran leadership, but also age quality.
Right.
And they're trying to build to win.
Yeah.
I could see him more so maybe out in San Francisco. I could see him with a team that's about ready to contend. But I do see him back in Minnesota. That's my prediction for him.
I could see it too.
They also added Anthony Harris. They kept him, placed a franchise tag on him. Also picked up some very valuable draft capital.
And that's the big part of that. Their free agent move so far is freeing up that or gaining that draft capital that they need. And if they're going to move on from these guys like Griffith, are they going to be able to sign that with their draft? We're going to the clam chowder capital of the United States.
The New England Clam Chowder Patriots.
Again,
clam chowder.
And there's one move that's kind of underrated in this, is that Matthew Slater, their special teams captain, they did re-sign him. It was on a home deal. This guy's getting older, but great guy, great player. It's very rare that you see a special teams guy have an impact on a team like Slater does. Like a Taysom Hill kind of guy, but this guy's been doing it for years and made it a craft. And I like them bringing him back as kind of a honor kind of thing.
They also re-signed or agreed to a 2-year contract with Devin McCourty.
You're right.
He's getting a little older, but he's still
one of the best.
Yes, he really is. And on a 2-year contract, $23 million, I think I make that.
And I did mention before they did sign Joe Thuney, their guard, on the franchise tag. A smart move. He's going to be productive for them, for whoever they do bring in at that quarterback vacancy.
Yeah. The biggest thing is, who's New England going to bring in at quarterback?
And this is what's crazy now is with Brady officially moving on, Tannehill was one of the names that they liked maybe going to New England. He re-signs in Tennessee. Now this is where you see is Andy Dalton going to go there? Is who out of the remaining guys?
For some reason, that name keeps coming back and back.
I think that's going to see it. I think that's the name you're going to ultimately see. If it's not the answer long term, it's going to be the answer for this year at least.
At least short term.
Yeah.
At short term, yeah. I think Andy Dalton would work really well in their system, and yeah, I could see that working. I don't see a Cam Newton there at all. I just don't. I don't think it really fits the Patriot mantra too much, because they're all about the Patriot way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think it's a system you have to buy into.
I don't feel Cam would be better off in Chicago or somewhere else
where he can be himself.
Yeah, where the Patriot way is a little bit more
Yeah.
and Cam's a little more outward.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there.
You know what I mean?
It's a place where he's not going to have to hide his emotions and stuff like that. Kind of like being a Yankee in baseball.
Right.
You have to conform to that team rather than being yourself and outspoken.
Exactly.
Let's keep rolling right down. New Orleans is the next spot. The only move that I see that they made would have been the Drew Brees re-signing. They signed him to honestly a nice contract for him though. They said he took a pay cut, but the guy's getting up there. He signed a 2-year, $50 million. That's still a lot of money, but
yeah.
And then they did sign a D tackle that they re-signed. Now going
David Onyemata.
And New Orleans is another team. I mean, they have a good draft spot. They could still win in this window that they're in. I don't think they're going to make any big moves in free agency.
Well, the only thing I can think of for Drew Brees and the Saints would be adding another wide receiver,
which would be very scary.
Yeah. But
you're seeing Drew Brees put up 5,000 yards a year with just Michael Thomas and Kamara. Now you add another receiver in that mix. It's going to be a fun show down there in the Bayou.
I thought Grant Delpit would be a good fit as well.
And solidifying their back end of that defense, you don't hear much other than like Marshawn Lattimore. They do have a decent defense, but with Cameron Jordan up front and Marshawn Lattimore, I think you put another safety in there like Delpit, who had a great national championship game, had a great season at LSU. Throw him down there in the Bayou, keep him down there, and I think he'll be a great fit down there.
No, I think that fits.
Yeah, absolutely.
That piece of puzzle, that's my prediction of who they'll grab.
Keep moving. We're getting close to the end here. We're going to go to the New York teams. We're going to start with the Giants. A lot of moves, nothing huge, though. They did franchise tag Leonard Williams. They signed Blake Martinez from Green Bay. They signed a Levine Tuilio, tight end, linebacker David Mayo, linebacker Kyler Fackrell, James Bradbury, corner.
That would have been one of their bigger signings was Bradbury,
and
cornerback.
He's a good player. I think that's the guy that they spent the money on. Blake Martinez, I don't think he's your answer. He wasn't your answer in Green Bay.
But I don't think they really need him to be the answer because
they have Ogletree. They're correct. I
don't think it matters because I believe the New York Giants is going to be selecting Isaiah Simmons,
and that would be a very good spot for him to go.
Yeah.
I think.
I
think they have the weapons on offense now. I think Darius Slayton's coming as their number one. I think that kid's a stud, and he's going to continue to be. You could even go out and get Robbie Anderson that the Jets let walk.
Right.
You got Daniel Jones, who surprised me. He is the answer there. He's a good player.
Robbie Anderson would be a really good across town.
Absolutely. And then you have, obviously, Saquon Barkley in your backfield, and he's going to be your stud for years to come still.
Exactly.
And then we'll go to the Jets now. The Jets, as well, not very many moves so far. Kind of sitting back, even in the draft. Not really sure what direction they're going to go.
Jets.
Jets. But we're going to go Fant, a tackle. They signed him to a 3-year deal. Alex Lewis, a guard.
All offensive line.
And then Connor McGovern. It's obvious what they're doing in free agency, bringing in vets to protect.
Well, they're building
Jones.
Also depth as well.
And I like what they're doing. You got to keep Saquon Barkley healthy. You got to keep Daniel Jones healthy. What better way to do that than solidify your offensive line?
Makes me wonder a little bit, what are they doing as far as the running back position? Are they sticking?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. You don't move on from Saquon Barkley.
So do you think that this offensive line push is to give Le'Veon Bell the tools necessary?
I guess I was thinking about the Giants. I'm sorry. We're talking Jets. I got backed up. I got mixed up. And you're right. Where are they going to go with that offense? They need receivers. I think they need to have a true answer at running back. You got your answer in Sam Darnold at quarterback, I believe. I think he's able to win. And your defense is good. They did solidify that a little bit last year with C.J. Mosley making some moves that they did last year.
Right.
I think their defense is decent. I think you need more weaponry on offense, though.
Yeah, and offensive line was a big thing for the Jets last year.
Yeah.
And right now, their 3 attacks have been tackle, guard, center.
Exactly.
So I think they want to get Bell. They want to give him the tools.
Yeah, and I'm looking through here. The Jets do need to add receivers. I agree, 100%.
And that's what makes me wonder about the whole
Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Maybe they just didn't feel he fit with Sam Darnold. Maybe there were some chemistry issues there. They didn't feel
Kid's good.
He fit the system there, maybe he wanted more money than they were wanting to pay. But Pat, I do agree. Jamal Adams is a stud.
Oh yes.
He can come up and fill. He can come up. He can play the pass really well. He is your ideal strong safety in the league. If you're looking for a young guy,
Heather Ryan, that is true. Phillip Rivers did sign with the Indianapolis Colts for 1 year, $25 million.
Absolutely. All 50 of his kids are going to be very well fed.
Yes, and they'll be in the heart of
corn country.
Yeah, they'll be eating well.
The Hoosier State.
We got the beef.
And Pat, that's another one that's not going to get brought up in here. Emmanuel Sanders. They could go sign over with the Jets. That's scary.
Well, anyone could use an Emmanuel Sanders.
He's a grinder. He's a smaller stature guy, but he's a big play threat.
The right contract could definitely help any team out.
Absolutely. I'd even like him staying out in San Francisco. I think he fit really well out there. But with Deebo Samuel, some of the guys they have out there already, I don't see him staying out there necessarily for money. But if he's going to get paid, I think going East Coast would definitely be a good spot for him.
Oh, I agree. We're gonna jump in. Any other Jets are trying to re-sign Roby? Yeah,
and I agree. I think that'd be a smart move.
Me too.
But
I think it's a no-brainer. But there's a lot of teams out there with interest in him.
Yeah, and I can absolutely understand why. He's a great player.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, we're gonna keep down the list. Philly,
the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles.
Not a lot of big moves. They did sign a backup quarterback. Kept Jalen Mills on a 1-year deal. A nose tackle, Hargrave.
Yep.
That's a good sign. 3-year, $39 million. So he got his money.
Yep.
And then Rodney McLeod, a safety, 2-year, $12. McLeod.
Yeah.
McLeod.
Yep.
Don't know much about him. Obviously, I don't know his name.
No, you know who it is.
He got a decent contract.
2-year, $12 million contract. Not a lot of moves there. I'm kind of surprised a little bit with Philadelphia.
Yeah,
I expected. I really did.
They're in the similar spot. Are they going to want to contend still right now? Do they feel like they can contend still?
Absolutely.
Or are they going to try to kind of fall back and rebuild for another year?
Well, I'll tell you what. Right now is not the time to be backing off if you're the Eagles because they have put things in place to win. And the Cowboys are, they're doing what they can. You got the Giants that are up and coming. They will be there. Washington, you got Ron Rivera coming in with that great defense. I mean,
there's a lot of competition out there, and they're going to be in a tough conference this year for sure.
I think
there's going to be some tough competition out there. Heather, I do want to respond to your comment here. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the backup to Phillip Rivers. With him getting that money this year, I think that's absolutely the move that they're going to try to make is to bench Jacoby Brissett. Maybe he just wasn't fitting their system. Wasn't the picture they wanted for long term. I think they're going to try to kind of take a step away from
It's a good question, though. It's a good question. But when you pay someone that $25 million, it's not to sit the bench at that point. Heather, you are paying someone to walk in and take over the team. And so Jacoby,
unfortunately wasn't the answer there, I think.
Right.
And then Pat, they did, and the Eagles did let Jason Peters walk. That's a big move by them too. Maybe trying to free up some space to bring in some more talent or elsewhere.
Or could they bring him back?
Or they could maybe restructuring to bring him back for cheaper, maybe too. To kind of get him on
It'd
a house
be
contract.
really, really different seeing him in another outfit.
Absolutely, definitely after the run and how special, how much he meant to that run.
Absolutely.
Now we'll go to San Francisco. One move that they made, putting that tag, re-signing Armstead. Big move. I think Armstead is a stud. I think he deserved his money after what they did. That defense was so unstoppable last year. I remember watching a few of their games, and every single one of them were just, their front eight was so amazing last year. They need to keep that intact as much as possible, I think.
And they did. That's exactly what they did. They went out and re-signed Jimmy Ward, Eric Armstead. They did let a piece go with DeForest Buckner.
DeForest Buckner, and maybe that's a guy I think they had to make the decision between Armstead and Buckner, maybe, but I think they still won getting rid of Buckner, receiving that 13th pick.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great move. I
think someone's going to fall to their lap that's going to fit right in, and that's what they're banking on.
Yeah, and before we move on even further, Ted, Jacoby Brissett back to New England. That would be interesting to see.
Huh. He does have, you know what?
And he was already there, kind of had a little
Actually,
bit of success
Ted, that's a really nice statement. That never came into my mind, but that would make sense. He has played in the system.
And it could work. I don't know how the money would work with Indianapolis, because I do believe he's still signed for a couple more years. Once Andrew Luck left, they did sign him to, I think, a 3-year, 4-year deal right afterwards. I don't know if it was big money, but I think he is signed.
Right.
But going on, Danny, do you think it was smart for Tennessee to sign Ryan Tannehill and just tag Derrick Henry? I think yes, just because I think you can maybe free up some space to sign Derrick Henry for a long term. It's hard to sign running backs for a long term deal right now because you just don't know what you're going to get production wise year to year.
Right. Right. It's kind of became one of them positions that, unfortunately, if it's not a high clout running back situation like Ezekiel Elliott or
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
You're going to see hit or miss with how the team feels about that position, I think. You saw L.A. go spend that big money on Todd Gurley right away, and now look at where they're at. So I think you're going to see teams even be more picky with who they really sign at running back.
Right.
I think you're going to see more and more running back by committee coming out of the draft than you are.
Group of gamers really didn't forget about you here. We did talk about the Bears a little bit. At the beginning of the video, we were kind of going down the teams alphabetically, but we did talk about them. I love, by the way, just to let you know, love the signing of Robert Quinn to the Bears.
And obviously we're big Bears fans. If group of gamers, you want to stick around for a few more teams, we're almost at the end. We can circle back up to the Bears because that's a team that we're obviously very fluent in knowledge with their front office, their signings, the players they already have. We could go on a little bit
very few
longer
teams we don't have
the
pretty decent knowledge about.
And absolutely, and we have a very good team, very good general knowledge of all teams. But obviously, with our factuation with the Bears and being lifelong fans of the Chicago Bears, we obviously have more knowledge of their moves.
But we critically put down every team, even our own. If
absolutely,
move is made. I don't personally like the Jimmy Graham move as much, maybe as other people do. But I find it as an insurance policy.
Yeah, and that's also, Mitchell Trubisky. I don't agree with them trading up to get him. I mean, there's moves that they made over the years that it's like, come on, man. Even as a fan, you gotta see that it was a bad move.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
But yeah, I definitely want to come back to that.
Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm gonna make sure that we didn't jump over that. Pittsburgh, not a lot, but they did put the franchise tag on Bud Dupree, which I kind of figured, and we did talk about.
And I think they were sitting with Bud Dupree the same way the Bears were sitting with Leonard Floyd. It was with them coming around. I think it was the same draft even that they came out.
Yeah.
Do you see his potential being greater than what he's given you already? And that's what the Bears were at with Leonard Floyd. Do you want to stick with this project? Do you want to stick with Bud Dupree? Bud Dupree has had a better start to his NFL career. Now you put that tag on him. You let him shine out in his franchise year.
And
sign
see if
him
he's
to,
worth, see if
sign
he's
him to
worth
that contract
money.
afterwards.
No, I agree totally with you. I think that's
I think
smart.
that's the opposite of what the Bears did.
He has that ability. He could flash
Absolutely.
and take that next step.
With outside linebackers, edge rushers, they're a dime a dozen. It's hard to walk away from one.
Right.
And so you saw that.
Hard to get a divorce from
Exactly.
someone that potentially could take you.
And you'd hate to see Bud Dupree go to a different team. They give him the money, and he shows out and does that. You put the tag on him, keep him around, make him earn that money, then you sign him to the big deal.
Yes, exactly. Crazy Meg. Oh boy, you're gonna be mad about what the Patriots did. Anyway,
we'll go right down to Seattle. The Seahawks, a couple of moves early. Not much as of lately. They did go sign Greg Olsen from Carolina.
Yeah, one of our favorite guys. We always.
I love Greg Olsen. He's one of those guys we talked about earlier that he'll forever be a bear in our heart.
Right.
But obviously, he did spend a lot of time in Carolina as well.
Yes, he did.
Very productive for a few years. Obviously, he's getting on the older end. I just love to see him go out and be able to play football still.
Well, it sounds like they also, the team is giving Hollister a second-round tender as well, so they plan on keeping Jacob Hollister in-house as well.
And I like that he did have a decent year stepping in at that tight end position for him.
But you know what really, really kind of complicates things, and I could be wrong about this, but Seattle went and got Greg Olsen. They're trying to keep Hollister. Now, they also had the tight end that got hurt during the season.
And I can't really think.
Give me just a minute. If you guys help me out in the comments.
And Pat, I agree there.
Disley,
Seattle
Will Disley.
Okay.
So,
and I just want to, with Seattle getting Greg Olsen, it is interesting with the you're kind of short with the draft coming in with tight ends, but you did have Hooper, you did have Henry that you might have been able to trade for. With Cleveland going and getting Hooper, that tight end David Njoku could be tradable. Jimmy Graham's out there. Greg Olsen it is interesting. Will Disley. That's interesting to see what they're going to do there. And I think Greg Olsen's more brought in for that Jason Witten character of being a mentor to these young guys that they think that they hit with.
Yeah. I think the other thing is Russell Wilson, he likes to – I love his whole being, his whole aura, and how he's a Seahawk. He's definitely they got something there in him that's very special.
Absolutely.
That's a guy you really can't get mad at because he's such a good –
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah. More guys on him.
And Pat McAfee even said before he's almost too positive. Like if you didn't like him, he'd piss you off because of how positive he is.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's always talking positive no matter what happens.
They also re-signed Jaron Reed to a 2-year, $23 million contract.
And obviously a guy that they needed to solidify the middle of that defense.
But it shocks me they did go out and they are keeping Hollister, brought in Greg Olsen. Maybe that's because Disley, they're not sure where that's going. But I know that there was a really good connection with Disley and...
Yeah, and that's why I think they want to keep Hollister around because he earned his money to stay there. If they feel they have a hit with Disley, I think Greg Olsen was brought in as a locker room guy to kind of coach those younger guys and still put up some production for Russell Wilson too. Group of gamers, it was a while ago, but how do you think Greg Olsen would have affected the Bears if he had stayed with us? I think it was dumb not to keep him. That was one of those moves we said before is, being a Bears fan, you still got to criticize some of the moves they made. You look back at the Robbie Gould and Greg Olsen release. You hate that those GMs did that because Greg Olsen could have been a guy to solidify that offense for years to follow him being there.
Agreed. But I am going to go back to that time when that did happen. Just like down in Arizona where the tight end is not really effective in their offense, was kind of the mantra back when the offensive coordinator,
right, Mike Martz, and
he really didn't utilize
changing every year.
He didn't really utilize that position or found that it really worked for him. So that was that was kind of the reasoning behind it back then. I thought it was a mistake then. I absolutely thought it was a mistake all the way through.
Yeah.
But it happened, and I'm glad he went on to have a good career in Carolina, and hopefully he has a good career out in Seattle.
And I agree, and I hope he ends his career out there on a high note.
And then comes back to Chicago.
We've got 3 teams left, and we're getting down to probably our biggest one here. I want to skip them, but I want to finish on Brady. I don't know how you guys feel. I really want to be able to talk about.
We're going to skip. We're going to go to Tennessee, Washington, then come back to Tampa because I feel
we got to give the GOAT his respect in covering why he's down there.
Absolutely.
So Tennessee, they got Vic Beasley, edge rusher from Atlanta. I like the kid coming out of college. Little undersized, but I think he's a gritty guy.
We both loved him coming out.
He's athletic.
Yeah.
They obviously put that franchise tag on Derrick Henry. Re-signed Tannehill. And then they go and they agree to a long-term deal with tackle and Dennis Kelly to even help out those guys that they signed. So I like the moves by Tennessee so far. I don't think you're done seeing Tennessee make a few more moves. I think they're in a prime spot. They need to contend now with the unsure of how long you're going to get Derrick Henry at that level. I think you got to push for a title now.
Yeah, I think Tennessee still needs to look at a little more edge rusher help.
Absolutely, yeah. I think at this point they need to solidify that defense to complement that offense that can take up so much time.
Exactly.
They need to get guys that can get takeaways now.
Exactly. Tennessee's sitting in a really good spot to have another successful year. Mm-hmm. Let's see if Indianapolis can push them this year as well.
Absolutely. So, now we'll go down to Washington. A couple big moves.
Whoa! It's Washington.
Washington.
It's Washington.
They had. I like what they did. Unfortunately, another guy that I wish the Bears could have kept. They did go sign Kevin Pierre-Louis. He stepped in for the Bears when Roquan went down against the Cowboys, and he played very well.
You guys are going to like him.
If you're a Washington fan, you're getting a very complimentive player to your defense.
Don't know how he hid for so long.
Absolutely.
Because when he came out and played, I was like, we need to resign. And I knew. I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to say this about Ron Rivera. You can say whatever you want about him. The guy knows how to set teams up on defense.
Absolutely. Look what he did in Carolina with Luke Kuechly, and another guy that Washington just stole from Carolina to Ron Rivera is Thomas Davis, the middle linebacker.
You play defense, you want to watch defense, watch Ron Rivera.
Absolutely. And then with those guys, Kendall Fuller, cornerback, solid player for Kansas City.
Makes sense.
Kyle Fuller's brother from Chicago.
He
got signed to a 4-year, $50 million contract.
Good for you. They are going to have the best.
I'm going to the Fuller reunion next year because it's going to be
tight.
It's going to be very expensive.
It's going to be lit.
Then of course
that's if all this shit.
That's if pen's to paper. But Kyle's still making a lot of money in Chicago, so I'd still go.
Yeah.
But then Brandon Scherf, one of the best guards in the game. Had to franchise tag
him. He has
him.
had some injury problems.
But the potential there for him to be an All-Pro for years to come.
If you remember right, back when he came out, and this is before this was ever even thought of, I watch the draft every year. I write down every single name. I go through everything. I do my predictions. But Brandon Scherf was one of my favorites coming out of that draft. I was in love with him.
Absolutely.
I loved his everything about him.
Yeah, I agree. And they went and they grabbed another guard too to maybe complement or back him up was
Wes Schweitzer.
Schweitzer, a guard, 3-year, $13.5 million on the cheaper side of that.
I think that's more on the
depth side. Good, talented depth.
Yes.
That's what you're looking. If you're getting depth at this point in free agency, you're getting talented depth.
So Washington Redskins has the second pick in the draft. Okay. Offensive line, they've already started to address. They just picked up some re-signed Scherf. They got Wes Schweitzer. I feel, boom, there sits your guy. If you want an edge rusher.
And Chase Young.
And you couple that with a Ron Rivera. Guys, watch out. I think Washington's a little bit going to be better. Now, their quarterback position, I'm not sold on. I'm not completely sold on.
And that's the hard thing is Ron Rivera's coming into a very special situation where He could go. He's at that spot. He could go get a quarterback early in this draft.
Could
to get his guy, or if they feel like Dwayne Haskins can compete at that level, you have a guy in Chase Young that can solidify your defense for years to come as well.
See, I don't see him picking the quarterback. Honest to God, Zach, I just don't. I won't even say that because Chase Young is a game changer. You can sit in there, you can pencil him in right now, and you got probably a 15-year guy.
Maybe and that's if the guy stays healthy, obviously, and everything.
Health,
but
yeah, and that's
I think Chase Young.
is.
I think Chase Young definitely takes your defense to a very elite level. Definitely with the signings that they have to complement them. Now let's finish up this 32-team free agency. It's been a long one. It's been very fun. But we're going to end with the GOAT of all GOATs and Tom Brady to Tampa Bay. Please let us know how you feel about this right now. This is obviously one of the biggest moves in free agent history with the GOAT of Tom Brady leaving New England in that franchise to make his own mark in the last couple of years of his career.
Well, and we saved the best for last because the GOAT deserves it, right?
Absolutely.
Zach?
I mean, he deserves everything that comes to this guy. He's not always had the best rap in the league. Everybody's hated Tom Brady for years.
Well, it's because he's a winner.
But you can't
not everybody
deny
loves a winner.
The 6 Super Bowls. You can't deny the endless amounts of playoff appearances, the stats, the records. He'll always be a Patriot, obviously.
Yeah.
But this guy's going to go make some money. He's going to. I think he does good if his style fits Tampa Bay style. We were just talking to Craig before we got on here. Craig brought up a good point. Does his play style in his old age fit those young receivers
with Godwin and
and Evans?
And Evans, I'm sorry. Yep. Sorry.
Godwin's more of an over-top, deep threat kind of guy. He's got to burn you over top. Can Brady deliver that ball? Mike Evans is more of a 50-50 guy, a physical guy. He's going to go grab that ball from you.
Tom's not going to throw them riskier passes.
Yeah, and Tom doesn't want to hurt the stats. He doesn't want to turn the ball over. Either you're going to see these receivers change into very systematic receivers, or you're going to see Tom trying to air out the ball in his last couple of years. I think it's going to be very interesting to see.
I think you put Tom Brady with the coach down there,
Bruce
Arians, and you.
No, not in Tampa Bay. It is. It is Bruce Arians.
It's Bruce.
That's right. He was in Arizona.
You put those two together, okay? Because you can do that with Tom Brady.
Absolutely.
He's another coach in the room. You put him in there with Godwin, and we're forgetting one big key thing here. They have O.J. Howard, who's rarely been used last year. This guy is uber talented, has the size, speed, hands. We know what the guy can do.
And I think Tampa Bay has some money to make some moves too. I don't think you're seeing the end of their moves on offense.
I don't. Yeah, I
and,
think
Pat is. You've done really really well in the comments, keeping some things going here.
Pat, I love your comments.
The battles with Drew Brees in the NFC South. You have 2 GOATs going at it for the next 2 years.
That is tight. That's
two times. That's 2 times a year. That's
it gave me
crazy.
goosebumps just thinking about that.
Great point. Absolutely great point.
Everything gives Steve goosebumps.
Well, it doesn't take much anymore, does it?
Group of Gamers says, any chance you two will be doing week-to-week predictions during the regular season, post-game breakdowns, etc.? Would love to see that, to be honest. Honestly, that's kind of what we were going with after the season starts. I talked to my dad here. Our kind of thing was, this has been one of the biggest years of the draft, complemented with free agency, a bunch of people moving. We thought it'd be the perfect time. We've talked about doing this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Getting into something like this because we thought we'd do very well with it. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop with free agency or stuff. We're going to break down each part of this NFL season, from free agency to the draft to rookie mini camps to training camp to preseason to 1 through 17, all the way up until the Super Bowl, I think. And this is something that we are very influenced by, into.
It pisses Lacey off. And, when we go out to eat or whatever, a lot of times it'll be me, Zach, and my other son, Caden. And all of a sudden it erupts into football clatter chatter.
And it doesn't matter where we
right
are
around Lacey.
Or what the topic was when we first brought it up. We could have went to my little sister's band recital and be like, hey, Jenna, very nice job, blah, blah, blah. did you see that the Bears re-signed Eddie Jackson? And then it just goes off. Or hey, did you see that Tom Brady is going to leave New England? And then it just goes into a winding turn of football where we end up talking about back in 1989 when you were playing or what. I mean, it can go on for days.
No, we absolutely enjoy it. Right now, just to give you a little background. I used to play, and then I coached, and then also Zach, he has obviously played, and now he's coaching. He's doing very well with it. In fact, that's kind of his career.
So I guess not many people know about me. I did do a couple shows with a Game of Thrones with one of my good friends, Carter. Unfortunately, we weren't able to keep that going with us. I am starting up in college again. Trying to get a degree in teaching because I love football so much. I love coaching. I've been coaching youth football for roughly 7 years now. I know I don't look like I could be coaching for 7 years.
But head coach for 3.
I started as an assistant coach when I was 15 years old. Stepped into a head coaching job when I was 19 years old. I'll be going into my 4th year as a head coach of my team. With my 3 previous years, I've only lost 3 games. This last season, we did go undefeated, 8-0. Hopefully,
and
keeping that going.
1-0 against his dad.
And I did get to play against my dad, and I gave it to him pretty good that game. So it was definitely one of the highlights of
until I put in my quarterback.
But this is something that I'm very passionate about is football and coaching and analyzing even the NFL as far in the game in general. I can sit down for hours and hours and talk and scheme and do a bunch of stuff. It's just it's something I'm very good at, and not trying to be cocky or anything, but I'm very good at breaking down a football. So in any facets. So this is something I really want to do with you and with you guys is to get the knowledge out there, let you guys know how I feel, how you feel about the sport, what's going on in the sport, and then get your guys' reactions and even broaden my horizon of what could possibly be going on in your guys' heads as far as where the league's going and everything.
Right.
So.
Oh, dear God, Craig.
I just added the Packers-Bears game.
But I can tell you, one game that they won was the game that we won.
Yeah, so unfortunately I haven't seen many Bears-Packers games go my way. But the one I did go to would have been the 2010 Bears-Packers Monday night game when Devin Hester did tie the kick return record in the same end zone we were sitting in. And the Bears did beat the Packers very convincingly that night.
Yep.
And then I did see the new Thanksgiving game when Jay Cutler put a hurting on Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully that changes this year. I'd like to see the Bears start putting a whoop on Green Bay, but unfortunately I haven't seen 28%. I'm just staring at that. That's not a good number for the Bears lately.
So anyway, real quick, the GOAT. I want to get back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There's a couple more. I'd like the Shaquille Barrett sign as well with them. Very talented edge rusher, as we were saying before. It's hard to part ways from there. That's a guy that you cannot part ways with. Definitely with bringing in Brady.
Exactly.
I mean, you got to have talent on the other side of the ball. You have to.
Yeah, and bringing Tom Brady into the fold is now going to send Jameis Winston packing. So that's another key piece. Where does he end up? I mean, this is a guy who threw, 30 interceptions, 30 touchdowns?
30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, but also led the league in yards.
5,000 and some.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a guy that he's a loose cannon. I have not liked Jameis Winston since he came in the league. I didn't like him at Florida State. I thought he was very irresponsible.
But it's intriguing.
But he's won. He's won. He's put up numbers. Is a team going to go take a chance with him and let him take their franchise?
Absolutely.
Is a guy?
I see where you're going with that.
Or
okay.
are they going to try to sign him as a backup? Is he going to get humbled and be put into a backup role somewhere?
The only way you're going to get Jameis Winston into your facilities if you tell him, "I need you to go and battle for the position."
Yeah.
Okay. He's not going to accept a backup role. quarterback mentality. We're going to go back to that. Once you've been the guy, you can't be the guy to be the backup to the guy.
Right.
Okay?
It's very hard to do.
And he just threw. He knows what he threw for.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he can probably clean up on some of that.
Even if he cleans up half of those interceptions, if you go 30-15,
That's
still a pretty dang good year.
That's what I'm talking. See, that's where I'm going with it. If you can put that into a uniform on another team in a system, because Bruce Arians' system is a little bit different than anybody else's. Okay,
and that's
it's
the thing.
More,
I'm so surprised that James Winston had the turnover numbers that he had. Because if you look back on Bruce Arians' quarterbacks before, like you had Kurt Warner, you had Carson Palmer, those guys did not turn the ball over. Those guys were gunslingers that did not turn the ball over like he did. So where was that coming from? Is that a Jameis Winston error that Bruce Arians wanted out of his locker room? Or was it kind of the mantra that Bruce Arians is going for is air it out?
Well, this is the big difference. Most quarterbacks or receivers, okay, and Bruce Arians kind of does it different, but correct me if I'm wrong, people. The receivers on their route, when they're running their route, it's not just a given route. It's a route that has 3 different directions on it.
Right. Kind of like the Bears breakdown, everything like that. There's options to every route.
Yeah. So if this is what you do. So the quarterback is never absolutely 100% on the timing of it. And I think that plays into effect with Jameis Winston. He's more of a timing quarterback where a route ran is a route ran with maybe a little deviation where there's a lot of deviations in Bruce Arians.
And I think Tom Brady will fit very well in that kind of thing because, Tom Brady, watched him over the years, he's very good at dissecting defenses. Maybe that'll be a key that he gets on with those receivers.
See, that's the thing. I see Tom Brady, he's such a student of the game, and there isn't much he hasn't seen or doesn't know.
Right.
Okay? And, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great signing for the Buccaneers. They had to make that change. I think this is their change to make that leap for them.
I agree, too.
They have the pieces. By God, they have the pieces. I mean, Godwin had a beautiful year, but yeah, you're right.
You got Mike Evans coming up to...
This 50-50 ball is not going to be there. It's, you're going to have to run the routes.
Yeah.
Tom is a very...
precise, picky guy.
He likes the routes to a... I guarantee you, once he signs on this dotted line, guys, he's back in work right now.
I guarantee he's already been working.
I'm not so sure.
This guy's had this plan for. This guy isn't just. I think I'll go to Tampa Bay. This is Tom Brady's. Yeah, he's not going to go and garnish his resume to go down to Tampa Bay and slum for a couple of years. This is a guy that wants to go out there and he wants to win more Super Bowls.
Do not be shocked. Do not be shocked, people. If Tampa Bay
makes a run at the NFC.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated. I'm not going to say that at all, but I'm going to tell you what. I think they're going to be – I think they're definitely going to –
hang around.
Yeah. I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree. I think we're pretty much wrapped up here.
Yeah.
Is there any last-minute questions you guys would like us to go over? Some good roles or some new things about the league? Anything. We could talk about Tom Brady.
How's everybody doing? Everybody enjoy it so far? I mean, I know we don't have that many in here. This is kind of a new thing. But that's cool. We started with 0 when we started this channel.
Yeah.
And, we just enjoy what we enjoy doing.
Absolutely. And I appreciate Craig. You've been here the whole time, constantly putting in input. I appreciate that. Ted, you've been in here for the whole time, really. Pat, all you guys, group of gamers, you guys have been hanging around, putting in great content into the comments, making this a lot more interactive and bringing up even points that we hadn't thought about prior to the live stream. So
yeah, it's great
it's really
to sit
nice.
back now after we've kind of talked and get to enjoy these comments as well. A little bit more because it's really minimal on the screen that we can actually, read. I want to also thank Craig Kostelecki too, a really good friend. He is up near Green Bay, obviously a Green Bay fan. He edited our first video. He's to call him before this to kind of surprise him with it and say we're going to do this tonight. He's always gracious and hopping in the comments and being a good friend too.
Yeah,
so
and,
thank you so much, and tell those kids Love them and hope everything's going good as well. And stay washing the hands, guys.
Absolutely.
Take
Wash
care of
your
each
hands.
other.
Trending Interactive Studios. He's saying Godwin is one of the best route runners. Mike Evans
Who's
is more of, right here. Trending Interactive Studios.
Yeah, gotcha.
He's saying Godwin is one of the best route runners. And Evans is a deep ball guy. Both of them saved several interceptions, which is even more scary for Jameis Winston, but maybe good for Tom. If Godwin is a good route runner, he's going to fit very well with Tom Brady. I do believe. But I did see Godwin hitting a lot of his yards that he got were deeper routes. He was able to blow the top off of defenses. Can Tom take that shot still? I haven't seen it much lately. You're seeing...
Well, and I'll tell you why you probably didn't see it so much is because they didn't have nothing.
And that too. And also they did struggle with their offensive line too. Tom Brady didn't have the time he did when he was younger.
And now that I can kind of relax and talk blunt about the Patriots, I'm going to be really honest with you guys. The Patriots have been able to take cast-off receivers, agree or disagree, and turn them into Super Bowl team. And I mean,
you even look at Julian Edelman, one of their best receivers of lately. I think if he went anywhere else, he wouldn't have been as productive. You're talking about a guy that played quarterback at Kansas State and is now one of the best receivers to play the game because of the system using with Tom Brady.
No, I agree.
Danny Amendola, he's a guy you took from St. Louis who was a cast-off, made him a Super Bowl winning receiver. Then he went and got paid in Miami and didn't do anything down there.
That's the point.
Yeah.
That's the big point I'm trying to make is a good quarterback will ball. Yeah, if you want to see that video, I'm sure Craig will post that or whatever.
We share that every year. It comes across Facebook. We have to share it every year.
Yeah. But to make a long story short, this guy has been able to work with multiple receivers and turn them into something special for even a couple years, and then they get traded or go get paid, and they do absolutely zero.
Yeah.
And so it has a lot to say.
Well, you even saw after he went to I'm just thinking of Danny Amendola because he was one of the guys that they made a good receiver. He went to Miami, got paid, didn't do anything, and then got a second chance in Detroit. And he's done a little bit better in Detroit, but still not what he did in New England.
No, exactly. And that's what they were hoping
even
to get.
Hogan, you look at Chris Hogan.
Yeah.
He played lacrosse. They turned him into a football player. The guy goes and wins a Super Bowl ring. I mean, and as a good receiver that year.
That's the points that I'm trying to make. So I guess the biggest question is going into 2020. We don't know who the New England Patriots quarterback is. We don't know who it's going to be, but I guarantee you they have an idea.
I guarantee you Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft don't let that team fall into as long as Bill Belichick is in that system as that coach, they will not be a losing team.
Well,
Bill Belichick will not let that team fall into a slump. They're not going to be a pushover in the AFC East. I think it's going to be a lot more competitive with Buffalo. I think Miami's on the verge of being very competitive. I think the Jets are right there, able to compete again. This AFC East is going to be very interesting.
The Jets started their season with their quarterback out due to sickness.
Yeah.
So there was a bit of a delay before they even got their quarterback. And then when they finally did, you started seeing a little bit more production. But, not quite.
It's hard to get it once
it's hard to get that timing. It's hard to get, yeah. And when you're behind the 8 ball, when you shut this, when you're behind the 8 ball from the beginning of the season.
And Craig, thanks for posting that. If you guys look in the comments, Craig did post a link for the Brady's Balls video. Give that a check out. You will greatly enjoy it and probably share it every year on Facebook. It's too good not to watch. It is really too good not to watch. One of Steve's best work, honestly.
Oh, dear God. But anyway, no, we really enjoy doing this, talking with you about football. Let's see here.
I think we covered it. Please thank you guys all for joining in on the live chat. I love doing these. Definitely with my dad and you guys. You guys make it really interesting on here and bring up great points.
Pat, really enjoyed your comments in here as well as everybody else. Thanks for coming in here and spending time with us tonight. I mean, Absolutely. What else were we going to do when we're in
quarantine?
we get to the one great thing is the NFL hasn't really missed a beat.
And that's the thing is you're seeing all these delays with the NBA, the MLB. It's kind of white noise out there right now while the NFL is coming up here and they're taking all the news by storm.
Yes.
It's very good to see that we still have this to talk about. Thank goodness we are football fans,
Right.
and we didn't get affected by this coronavirus lockdown type stuff. The NFL's still out there making money and
It's my
making
favorite
news.
sport. It's my favorite thing other than watching movies and reacting to them. My other love
Absolutely.
is this game.
Absolutely, yeah,
helping-
we're gonna have plenty. We got plenty of time these next few weeks, this month really. We're gonna come out with plenty more videos going into the draft. I think there's a lot more to hit on that we haven't touched yet. If you haven't yet, go check out our quarterback videos. Really good
it's a bit
content
long.
there.
It's a bit long. There's also timestamp in there, so if you find someone that you're not really, just go and check it out if you have time.
Yeah, and do some research yourself. There's a ton of quarterback talent in this. Obviously, it was a video that we had to kind of go longer on, or else we wouldn't have done the justice of what this class really has.
I agree.
But with the other positions, we got the receivers coming up. That'll probably be our second longest video, but we're going to try to cut down on that a little bit. But there's so many players that are so interesting in this draft. We're going to have plenty of videos coming up in the next couple weeks,
Yes.
2 months. And once that settles after the draft, we'll have some videos of how teams are looking going into training camps and everything. And we'll have a lot of content coming up here very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing. The Walking Dead did not go up today. Today it was scheduled, right, Lacey?
What?
The Walking Dead.
Yeah, didn't go up today.
So we are doing a double upload on Friday, just to let you guys know. We had some things kind of happen throughout the week where we had a bunch of stuff going on. We were doing rooms.
I'm sure everybody else is going kind of through the same thing that our family's going through right now with stuff shutting down. It's been a crazy week for everybody. So patience is definitely a virtue during this time.
Right.
But these guys are obviously going to get you guys the content that you guys love. They love doing it for you guys. Every time I get on the phone with these guys or come see them, they're talking about how much they love the fans that they have, how much they love going through the videos and the shows with you guys. So, like you said, double content on Friday, and it's going to be great.
Yes. And please pay attention to Duo Sports Talk. We enjoy doing it. I hope to see you guys again soon. Make sure you like the video, share the video, and hope amazing
happens to you today.
That's right. Peace out.
See you guys later.